Morning in the Highland District of Minnesota began with the usual quietness. April Williams was in the kitchen brewing coffee and packing fruit into a lunchbox for her 5-year-old daughter Olivia. Sunlight streamed through the windows, brightly illuminating the white marble kitchen countertops. "Olivia, breakfast is ready," April called toward the stairs. Soon, the sound of little feet pattering down the stairs could be heard. Olivia appeared in her blue unicorn pajamas, her blonde ponytail bouncing. "Good morning, Mama," Olivia said, rubbing her sleepy eyes. April kissed her daughter's forehead. "Good morning, Princess. What would you like to play today?" "I'm going to play dollhouse with Jessica," Olivia answered, her eyes sparkling. When the kitchen clock struck 7, Bradley came downstairs in a perfectly pressed navy suit. Bradley was known as the sales director of a prominent local pharmaceutical company. With his impeccable appearance and composed demeanor, he commanded respect from those around him. "Good morning," Bradley said with a smile. He kissed his wife's cheek and gently patted Olivia's head. "Looks like it's going to be another beautiful day." April smiled as she handed her husband his coffee. "How was your sales meeting yesterday?" "Perfect," Bradley said with satisfaction. "The team is exceeding this quarter's targets by 20%. The CEO was pleased." April nodded. Bradley was passionate about success at work. He was a perfectionist who expected the same perfection from his family. On the surface, he was a loving father and husband, but when something didn't meet his standards, he could suddenly become irritable. "Olivia, fix your hair a bit better," Bradley pointed to his daughter's hair. "You always need to look nice when you meet Daddy's important clients." Olivia nodded slightly. "Sorry, Daddy." April placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "She's planning to play at Jessica's house today. She's not meeting any clients." Bradley frowned slightly. "Still, our child must always look her best. It's about keeping up appearances." The atmosphere at the table grew tense for a moment. April quickly tried to change the subject. "My mother is coming this weekend. She wants to take Olivia to the zoo." Olivia's face brightened. "Grandma's coming. Hooray." April's mother Linda lived in a small town about a 30-minute drive from Highland. Linda was a good confidant for the couple and adored her granddaughter Olivia. April treasured her relationship with Linda. She could ease the tension she sometimes felt in her marriage through conversations with her mother. "Olivia, after you finish breakfast, brush your teeth and change into your uniform," Bradley said. "I need to leave early. I have an important presentation today." After Bradley left, April and Olivia ate breakfast quietly. April observed her daughter. In recent weeks, Olivia had been waking up crying from nightmares more frequently. Also, her kindergarten teacher had mentioned that Olivia, usually active and talkative, had suddenly become quiet at school. "Olivia, is there something bothering you?" April asked gently. Olivia poked at her cereal with her spoon. "No, nothing." "Really? You've been crying a lot at night lately." Olivia remained silent, looking down. "Just bad dreams." April gently stroked her daughter's hair. She seemed to have something she wanted to say but couldn't. "No matter what happens, I'm always on your side. Remember that." Olivia nodded slightly. That afternoon, April picked up Olivia from kindergarten. Her daughter was quieter than usual but happily shared a little about playing with Jessica. When they got home, April put on Olivia's favorite cartoon in the living room and began preparing dinner. Suddenly, a scream came from the living room. "Mama! Itchy!" April rushed to the living room. There she saw Olivia, her face swollen and red, with red rashes spreading from her neck to her chest. "Olivia!" April touched her daughter's forehead with trembling hands. There was no fever, but the rash seemed to be spreading rapidly. "Did you eat something?" "Itchy, hard to breathe." Olivia gasped. While trying not to panic, April struggled to stay calm. She first called her husband. Brad, something's wrong with Olivia. She suddenly broke out in a rash and is having trouble breathing. I'm taking her to the emergency pediatric clinic right now. I understand. I'll be right there. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Bradley's voice had an unusual hint of anxiety. April picked Olivia up and put her in the car. Looking at her daughter in the rearview mirror, she desperately encouraged her. It's going to be okay, Olivia. We'll see a doctor right away. Olivia's face was swelling more, making it difficult for her to open her eyes. April rushed to the emergency clinic. Bradley was waiting in the parking lot as promised. His expression changed momentarily when he saw his daughter. What happened? He asked his wife. I don't know. The rash just started appearing suddenly, April said, watching her husband's reaction. Bradley was clearly agitated, but April couldn't tell if it was pure fatherly concern or something else. Olivia's breathing was becoming increasingly labored, and April's worry turned to fear. Despite it being evening, the emergency pediatric clinic's waiting room was crowded. April hurried to the reception desk with Olivia in her arms and explained the symptoms. Seeing Olivia's condition, the receptionist nurse responded immediately. This is an emergency. I'll take you to the treatment room right away. The nurse led the three of them down a white corridor. Olivia's rash had spread further, and her breathing was shallow and rough. April could feel her own heartbeat pounding loudly in her ears as she tightly held her daughter's small hand. When they entered the treatment room, several medical staff appeared immediately. Olivia was laid on the examination table, and a pulse oximeter was attached to her finger. A middle-aged woman who appeared to be the head nurse gave directions while moving calmly and quickly. Suspected anaphylaxis. Prepare epinephrine. Bradley stepped forward. What's happening? My daughter doesn't have any allergies. There was a hint of defensiveness mixed with urgency in his voice. April stared at her husband. Beads of sweat had formed on his forehead, and his usual confident demeanor seemed to be wavering. Dr. Levin will be here shortly, the nurse replied matter-of-factly. A few minutes later, the doctor entered the room. With graying hair and an intellectual air, Dr. Levin first checked Olivia's condition. Hello, Olivia. I'm Michael Levin. I'm going to examine you now, he said gently. Dr. Levin listened to Olivia's breathing with his stethoscope and carefully examined the rash. While his expression maintained professional calm, his face changed slightly when he looked at Bradley. Then he focused on Olivia again. This is an acute allergic reaction. We'll administer epinephrine immediately, he instructed the nurse. April asked in a trembling voice, could it be an allergy to something? She's never had any allergies before. Allergic reactions can have various causes. Food, medication, environmental substances. Dr. Levin explained, glancing briefly at Bradley. Has she taken any new medications recently? No, April answered. At the same time, Bradley spoke up. She was feeling a bit under the weather, so I gave her some over-the-counter children's medicine, but it's a brand we use often. Dr. Levin stared at Bradley. Suspicion flickered in his eyes. Which medication specifically? Just a regular antipyretic pain reliever. I don't remember the exact name, Bradley said, showing some irritation. A strange tension flowed between the doctor and Bradley. April sensed the atmosphere and felt uneasy. Mr. Williams, Dr. Levin said, addressing Bradley. We need to run several tests, including blood work. Would you mind waiting outside until the procedure is complete? Bradley hesitated for a moment but nodded. April, you can stay, he told his wife and left the room. As soon as Bradley left, Dr. Levin immediately gave instructions to the nurse. Take a blood sample and run an emergency toxicology screening. April was surprised by the doctor's words. Toxicology screening. Why such a test? Dr. Levin turned to April and lowered his voice. Just a precautionary test. Don't worry. His expression was calm, but his eyes revealed some dark concern. Meanwhile, the nurses administered epinephrine to Olivia and prepared an IV. Fortunately, the medication began to take effect quickly. Olivia's breathing gradually became easier, and the swelling in her face slowly subsided. Mama! Olivia called out in a weak voice. April rushed to her daughter's side. I'm here, Olivia. Mama will stay right beside you. Olivia's eyes were half closed, but she squeezed her mother's hand. I was scared. It's okay now, April said, gently stroking her daughter's hair. However, anxiety was swirling inside her. Why had Dr. Levin's attitude changed the moment he saw her husband? Why had he ordered a toxicology test? Was this just an allergic reaction? About an hour later, Olivia's condition had stabilized, and the test results came back. Dr. Levin frowned as he looked at the results. He gave some instructions to a nurse and turned back to April. Olivia's condition is stable. I'd like her to stay at the clinic for a few hours tonight for observation. I understand. How were the test results? April asked. Dr. Levin was silent for a moment, as if choosing his words. There are a few concerning points. I'd like to wait for more detailed test results. April felt anxious about the doctor's vague response but didn't pursue it further. Instead, she asked about her daughter's condition. Will Olivia make a full recovery? Yes, the acute symptoms have subsided. However, identifying the cause is important, Dr. Levin said with a serious expression. Mrs. Williams, I'd like to ask you something. Have you noticed any changes in your daughter's behavior recently? April nodded. Yes, for the past few weeks, she's been crying more often from nightmares in the middle of the night. Her teacher told me she suddenly became quiet at school, though she's usually active and talkative. Dr. Levin's expression darkened further. He was about to say something when Bradley returned to the room. How is she? How's Olivia's condition? He asked as he approached his daughter. She's stable, Dr. Levin regained his professional composure. We're running some additional tests to identify the cause of the allergic reaction. Bradley stared at the doctor. Tension flowed between them again. You probably won't be able to determine the cause anyway. What's important is that my daughter gets better. Of course, Dr. Levin agreed. However, his eyes didn't leave Bradley. But knowing the cause can prevent recurrence. April felt anxiety spreading in her chest as she watched the strange confrontation between the two men. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. The air in the room was tense, with a heaviness as if no one was expressing their true thoughts. That night, Olivia slept in a clinic bed, and April stayed by her daughter's side. Bradley came into the room occasionally to question the nurses and doctors. On the surface, his attitude was that of a concerned father, but April sensed something unnatural about it. As the night deepened, April sat holding her daughter's small hand, thinking. Was there something behind this sudden event that she still didn't understand? Dr. Levin's concerned eyes and her husband's strange attitude. Were they coincidental, or was there some deep connection? The next morning, Olivia's condition had improved significantly overnight. The rash was still visible, but her breathing had returned to normal, and the swelling in her face had almost disappeared. April hadn't slept at all, spending the night at her daughter's bedside. Bradley had returned home to get some rest and came back to the clinic first thing in the morning. His face showed signs of fatigue, but his usual confident demeanor remained unchanged. April, we're ready to be discharged, Bradley said as soon as he entered the room. Dr. Levin has apparently given discharge permission. April was puzzled. I haven't heard directly from him. I heard it at the reception desk. The paperwork is ready, Bradley said, unable to hide a hint of irritation. Let's get home quickly. I don't like that doctor. April felt uncomfortable with her husband's attitude. Bradley usually showed respect for medical professionals. Because he worked for a pharmaceutical company, he had frequent contact with doctors. Why did he only dislike Dr. Levin? Olivia, how are you feeling? April smiled at her daughter. Olivia nodded slightly. Better, Mama. But still a little itchy. I'm glad, April felt relieved. However, her anxiety didn't disappear completely. Dr. Levin hadn't appeared in the room that morning. April wanted to talk to him. She wanted to ask about his strange attitude and the tension between him and her husband. I'll go pick up the prescription, April told Bradley. Can you help Olivia get dressed? Bradley hesitated slightly but agreed. All right. But hurry up. I want to get out of here. April went into the hallway and headed for the nurse's station. There she found Dr. Levin reviewing some documents. When she approached, the doctor looked up. Good morning, Mrs. Williams. His voice maintained professional calm, but concern showed in his eyes. How is Olivia doing? She's better. I heard we can be discharged. Yes, the acute symptoms have subsided. Dr. Levin looked around and lowered his voice. I've written a prescription. You can pick it up at the pharmacy. Taking advantage of a moment when no nurses were around, he leaned closer to April. Have you ever met your husband somewhere before? April was surprised. No, I don't know. Why do you ask? Dr. Levin checked their surroundings again. Mrs. Williams, there are several concerning points in your daughter's test results. I can't talk in detail now, but... He cut off his words and took a small piece of paper from his pocket. Pressing it into April's hand, he whispered, Don't say anything now. When you get home, read this in a safe place. And act immediately. For your daughter's sake. April felt confused and frightened but maintained a calm appearance. Still clutching the note, she asked, What is this? No questions, Dr. Levin interrupted her. The regular prescription is here. Antihistamines and a mild sedative. But I'll say it once more. Read that note in a safe place. April's hands were shaking. She hid the note deep in her wallet and took the prescription. Thank you, doctor. Be careful, Mrs. Williams, Dr. Levin said with a grave expression. There was something unspoken in his eyes. April felt her steps growing heavy as she returned to Olivia's room. Bradley had finished putting on his daughter's shoes and stood up immediately. Finally back. We're ready to go. Let's stop by the pharmacy and head home right away. The three of them left the clinic. They passed Dr. Levin in the hallway, but the doctor merely nodded slightly. April felt his serious gaze following her. After picking up the medication at the pharmacy, the family got into the car. April sat next to Olivia in the back seat and embraced her daughter. Bradley sat in the driver's seat and started the car immediately. That doctor was strange, Bradley suddenly said. What did he do to Olivia? Why was there a need for so many tests? April answered carefully. He was just doing his job. Olivia's condition was serious. He looked at me differently, Bradley said sharply. As if I had done something wrong. April was conscious of the note in her wallet but pretended to be calm. Maybe it's your imagination. It's not my imagination, Bradley looked at April in the mirror. He seemed to know something. He was suspicious of something. What would he be suspicious of? April couldn't help asking. Bradley's eyes flashed coldly for a moment. Nothing. It's just a manner of speaking. The air in the car grew tense. Olivia, exhausted, was falling asleep in April's arms. As April gently stroked her daughter's hair, she imagined what might be in the doctor's note. A terrible premonition was gnawing at her heart. When they arrived home, Bradley parked the car. "I'll take Olivia to bed. You prepare the medicine." April nodded. She was waiting for a chance to read the note. "All right. I'll prepare it in the kitchen." Bradley picked up Olivia and went into the house. April was about to take the note from her wallet when Bradley suddenly turned around, causing her to hastily put it back. "Also, make a lunchbox for me. I need to return to the office after Olivia falls asleep." "I have an important meeting," Bradley said. "You can't stay home today?" April asked in surprise. "Even with Olivia in this condition?" "I can't help it. Today's presentation is important." Bradley's voice left no room for argument. "Besides, she's already getting better, isn't she?" April trembled inwardly at her husband's coldness. Even though their daughter had just recovered from a serious medical emergency, he was just trying to get back to work. This wasn't like him. While preparing medication in the kitchen, April observed Bradley and Olivia on the sofa. He was saying something to Olivia. She was nodding silently, but her small body appeared tense. After Bradley took Olivia to bed, he went to take a shower. April seized the opportunity and rushed to the bathroom. Locking the door, she took the note from her wallet with trembling hands. As she unfolded the small piece of paper, a neat handwriting revealed a short message. April gasped and read line by line. The content of the note confirmed her worst fears. With the shower still running, the blood drained from April's face. Her hands were shaking, and her heart was beating violently. After finishing reading the note, she considered flushing it down the toilet but, intuitively thinking it might serve as evidence, hid it deep in her wallet again. Looking at her face in the mirror, April steeled her resolve. No matter what, she had to protect Olivia. To do that, she needed to act now. She took a deep breath and left the bathroom. "Brad, your lunch is ready," April called out in as normal a voice as possible. "I've also prepared Olivia's medicine, so I'll give it to her before you leave." Bradley appeared in the kitchen drying his hair with a towel. "Thank you. I'll leave in an hour." After Bradley left for work, April's heart was pounding heavily. Olivia was finally sleeping peacefully, and the house was wrapped in silence. April rushed to the bathroom and took out the doctor's note again. With trembling hands, she unfolded the paper. It read, "Your husband is also the father of another child I examined 6 months ago. That child came in with the same symptoms, and investigations revealed deliberate drug administration as the cause. Your daughter's test results show the same pattern. Contact the police immediately." Pieces began connecting in April's mind. Olivia's nightmares, her sudden personality changes, and now this rash. She covered her face with trembling hands. How could it be possible that her husband was intentionally harming their daughter? However, Dr. Levin was undoubtedly certain. He had mentioned another child. April knew that Bradley had an ex-wife and a child from that marriage. But Bradley had explained that the child had died in an accident. April made up her mind. She needed to know the truth. Right now. First, she went to the bedroom to make sure Olivia was sleeping safely. Next, she headed to Bradley's study. Normally the room was kept locked, but because he had left in a hurry, it was open today. With her chest tight with tension, April entered the room. The first thing she noticed was neatly organized documents and several pharmaceutical books. Bradley was meticulous about his work. She began opening drawers. The top drawer contained company documents, bills, and everyday items. When she opened the second drawer, April found a small locked box. The box was locked, but she knew where the spare key was hidden behind the bookshelf in the study. With trembling hands, she opened the box. Inside was a diary with a black leather cover and several bottles of medication. April opened the diary and began reading recent entries. Olivia didn't listen again today. A lesson is needed to maintain the perfect family. Last night, I mixed a small amount of medication into her juice. The effect was as expected. She's beginning to become more obedient. April hasn't noticed anything. It's the same as with Emily. Emily. Yes, that was the name of Bradley's ex-wife's child. April felt a cold sensation overwhelm her. With trembling hands, she continued turning the pages. I miscalculated with Emily. This time I'm adjusting the dosage. I should be able to raise Olivia to be a perfect child without April suspecting anything. April continued reading despite feeling nauseated. Bradley had recorded in detail how he was preparing the drugs and how he was administering them to his daughter. Using his pharmaceutical knowledge, he was administering drugs in ways that were difficult to detect. And most terrifyingly, it was written that his ex-wife's child, Emily, had received the same treatment. Emily was weak. Her reaction to the medication was too strong. Unfortunate, but a necessary sacrifice. The diary fell from April's hands. She examined the medicine bottles in the box. They had no labels and clearly weren't from a hospital or pharmacy. She began taking pictures with her smartphone. Pages from the diary, the medicine bottles, and other documents in the box as well. April's heart was racing. She quickly returned to Olivia's room to make sure her daughter was sleeping safely. The little girl's face was still a bit red, but her breathing was regular. April kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, holding back tears, "It's going to be okay, Olivia. Mama will protect you." Next, she returned to her own room and packed a small bag with the bare essentials. The evidence she had photographed, the doctor's note, some cash, and clothing. She called her mother who lived in the neighboring town. "Mom, I'm coming over now. With Olivia. I'll explain later. Don't tell anyone." Linda, sensing the urgency in her daughter's voice, agreed without questioning. "I understand, April. Be careful." April wrapped Olivia in a blanket and put her still sleeping daughter in the car. However, just as she was about to insert the car key, she stopped. She should go to the police. She had evidence. Right now. Strengthening her resolve, April started the car. On the way to the town's police station, she checked the rear-view mirror several times. She was afraid Bradley might come home early. She couldn't imagine what would happen if he discovered the truth. Arriving at the police station, April lifted Olivia and hurried into the building. A young female police officer greeted her at the reception. "I need help," April said in a trembling voice. "My husband is giving drugs to my daughter. I have evidence." The female officer responded immediately and guided April and Olivia to an interview room. A detective was promptly called, and April began explaining everything. Dr. Levin's note, the photographs of the diary and medicine bottles she had found, and the changes in Olivia's symptoms. "Mrs. Williams, you've done the right thing," Detective Katie Morrison said with a serious expression. "This evidence is extremely important. We'll begin an investigation immediately." April nodded, tears flowing. "I need to take Olivia to a safe place before my husband returns. I plan to go to my mother's house. Before that, would you allow us to have your daughter examined at the hospital?" Detective Morrison asked gently. "We need to conduct a toxicology test to confirm what kind of drugs were used." April agreed. "But he won't find us, will he?" "Don't worry. We'll ensure both of your safety," Detective Morrison assured her. "We'll assign an officer. And we'll be questioning your husband soon." April and Olivia were escorted to a city hospital under police protection. Olivia woke up along the way and seemed confused, but April embraced her daughter and gently explained, "We're going on a trip to Grandma's place." During the hospital tests, Detective Morrison contacted April. The police had gone to Bradley's workplace and brought him back for questioning. His study had also been searched, and beyond the evidence April had found, many more drugs and records had been discovered. How did he react? April asked fearfully. He denied it at first, but when confronted with the evidence, his attitude changed, the detective answered. He's claiming that he was just trying to create the perfect family. A cold feeling spread in April's chest. Bradley's words were the same as what was written in his diary. He truly believed his actions were justified. Late that night, when April arrived at Linda's house with Olivia, she was finally able to feel a bit of relief. She explained everything to her mother, and the two embraced and cried. "You were very brave," Linda said, stroking her daughter's hair. "You and Olivia are safe now. We'll get through this together from now on." As April gazed at Olivia's sleeping face, she fully felt everything that had happened today for the first time. Her world had collapsed in a day, but she had managed to protect what was most precious. Her little daughter's life and future. On a spring afternoon 6 weeks after Bradley's arrest, April sat by the window in her mother Linda's house, watching Olivia playing in the backyard. The little girl was gradually regaining her energy, but she still sometimes woke up from nightmares in the middle of the night. Fortunately, April's mother was a retired child psychologist and had the knowledge and experience to support her granddaughter's recovery. "She slept through the night yesterday." Linda sat down next to April with a coffee cup. "It's small progress, but she's definitely getting better." April smiled. "Thank you, Mom. Without you, I don't know what would have happened to us." Linda took her daughter's hand. "You were brave. Many people don't have such courage." Through the police's thorough investigation, Bradley's past was being revealed one after another. His ex-wife's child Emily had also died with similar symptoms, but it had been processed as an accidental death at the time. With Dr. Levin's testimony and new evidence, that case was being reinvestigated. The drugs Bradley had been using contained special ingredients obtained through his connections at the pharmaceutical company, making them difficult to detect in regular tests. "I got a call from the detective," April said, still looking out the window. "There's a preliminary hearing next week. Will you testify?" April took a deep breath. "Yes. For Olivia's sake, and for Emily's sake, I need to testify." Preparing for the trial was mentally exhausting, but April felt she was growing stronger each day. She had begun participating in a victim support group, meeting other parents who had similar experiences, and drawing courage from their stories. When April saw Bradley at the first preliminary hearing, she was surprised to find that he looked like a completely different person from the husband she had known. He continued to claim until the end that he was just trying to raise a perfect family. During the trial, a psychiatric evaluation was conducted, and he was diagnosed with severe controlling desires and pathological perfectionism. Ultimately, the jury considered all the evidence and found Bradley guilty. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for the harm to Olivia and in connection with Emily's death. A year after the sentencing, April and Olivia had started a new life in a new apartment. April had begun working as a counselor at a local support center, determined to use her experience to help other families. With the help of a child psychotherapist, Olivia was gradually recovering and beginning to make friends at her new school. One evening, after Olivia had finished her homework, April held her daughter and asked, "Are you happy?" Olivia looked up at her mother and showed a genuine smile. "Yes. But sometimes I have scary dreams." "That's normal, Olivia. Time will heal it. And we have each other, don't we?" Olivia nodded. "Mama, will you help other children someday too?" April smiled, surprised by her daughter's insight. She had recently begun researching foster care. In particular, she was considering taking in children rescued from abuse or dangerous environments. "Yes, I'd like to. We have a lot of love to give." That night, after putting Olivia to bed, April sat in her study and finished writing a thank you letter to Dr. Levin. Without his brave action, neither she nor Olivia would be here today. Looking up at the starry sky outside the window, April reflected. She had learned from bitter experience that true family is not about blood ties but about bonds of love and protection. And now, she was ready to extend those bonds to other children who needed them. At the end of the letter, she added a simple sentence: "Your courage gave us the strength to begin our new life. From now on, we'll move forward with the same courage."